Welcome back to the SWAYAM course on Design Thinking and Innovation. This is week 6 and we are going to be looking at the tool. Week 6, section T6. So let's look at how to make questionnaires and how to talk to experts by using cue cards. So what are questionnaires and surveys? They are kind of interconnected. Questionnaires are designed to have a set of specific questions that you actually design, which helps you in gathering information from the users. So questionnaires refer to questions and surveys refer to the method of collecting, analyzing this data, maybe even from several respondents, right? So that you can compare and collate that information together. What are the types of data or information? Questionnaires and surveys help you collect both quantitative as well as qualitative information. Let's look at the type of questions. You have open-ended questions also called as the unstructured questions. You have the close-ended questions called as the structured questions. You have the dichotomous questions, they are binary questions. You have the multiple choice questions where you're given them choices and the users select one of them. You have scaling questions from one range to another. Okay, so these are the 5 types of questions. How do you do it? Do you need to do it individually or in groups? It can be done both ways. It can be administered individually or in groups. It's just that when you do it in groups, you share responsibilities while doing these particular activities. How does questionnaires and surveys help? Questionnaires help you get information from several respondents in a short time, also in a very systematic and organized manner, because you get similar kind of information, so it's very easy to visualize this and make them into charts and diagrams, so you can compare and draw inferences and analyze them. Let's look at the questionnaire steps. First, you need to identify what information you need to collect through the questionnaire. You need to identify who you're going to get this information from, so you need to identify your user groups. And you need to write down these questions in a very clear manner so that it's not confusing to the user. You need to also figure out what type of questions. We just looked at 5 different types of questions, and also figure out the kind of responses the users would make. Then you need to administer the questionnaire either online or offline. Offline means it's in person, and get the response. Now, once you get the response, you need to collate it together, analyze this information, okay, and you can make it into charts and diagrams. And looking at this, you need to make a list of references from this study. That's the outcome of this study or the summary of this study. Let's look at the questionnaire examples. Okay, so this is a sample questionnaire given to students for feedback after a course on design thinking and innovation for school students in grade 6. So this is the feedback form. If you look at the first portion of it, it's basically demographics. So you have the name of the student, which class he belongs to, which module was this section, what was the task which was done, what was the activity, and the date of doing it. So that's the user data, right? And when you get it from, let's say, 30 students, you get different opinions. Let's look at the next one. So it uses a rating scale. It's a scaling question. And if you look at it, there are 4 questions and the rating is that the student has to tick one of them. It's from inadequate to exceptional. So, the in between steps are inadequate, fair, good, very good, exceptional. So, for example, you have level of effort you put into this activity. You have to put a tick mark in one of the cells over there. Okay, your level of knowledge at the start of the activity. That means before the teacher taught you what was the level of knowledge at the end of the activity. After you did this task, what is the level of knowledge? And understanding of exposure to slides or video that you saw in the class. Okay, so you can rate it between inadequate to good to exceptional, right? You put a tick mark, then we collate this information. Let's look at some other types of questionnaires. So, the first one, do you agree with the following statements? It means that there are 4 statements, you have to say yes or no to them. So, these are predefined close-ended questions. Okay, there are 4 questions and you can do yes or no to them. Okay, answer by placing a tick mark in the correspondence. So, if you enjoyed it, you put a tick mark. You didn't enjoy this activity, you don't put a tick mark. Okay, then followed that with a dichotomous question. Okay, so it has an answer of either yes or no. Will you recommend this course to a friend? You have a choice of saying either yes or no. And the last one is an open-ended question. It means that what did you like most about this course? And you have to make your comments in this space that is given, or suggestion on what can be done better in this course. Okay, so these are open-ended questions. So let's just go through this once again. I'm going back to the first question. Okay, which was the demographic data. It has user data, for example, the name, the class, the module, activity and the date. Followed by a rating scale question where you can rate between different variables. Here it's from inadequate to fair to good to very good to exceptional. So, for different activities you can put a tick mark where you think is the right place to put. Okay, so, this is a rating scale question. We also saw a close-ended question. It's a structured questionnaire where there are 4 questions that you are asking answers to. You can put a tick mark if you agree with that, or you don't put a tick mark. For example, I enjoyed doing this activity. If you did, you put a tick mark. Okay, and followed by yes and no question. It's a dichotomous question, a binary question. Okay, so you can either say yes or no to this, followed by an open-ended question. If this is unstructured, that means that you can write additional comments in the given space. For example, what did I like most about this particular course? You can put your comments over there. Okay, so we looked at the 5 different type of questionnaires. So please keep this in mind when you do the questions. For example, after you get the answers, you can collate this information. Here you can see that it is over 9,000 responses that have been got, okay, to the question level of knowledge at the start of the design thinking and innovation course and at the end of the course, right. And you can see that there is a drastic change when you compare the 2 graphs, and you obviously can understand that, for example, exceptional was very small here at the beginning and it's become quite large here. Okay, from almost around 700 students, it's come to almost around 2,000 students saying yes to it, and almost close to 4,000 students saying that it was very good, right. So this is how you can actually get information out of comparisons. And this is the output that you can do in form of a chart or a diagram. So let's move on to the section of using cue cards while talking to the experts. It's a very useful, simple device. What are cue cards? Cue cards are just simple cards in which you write some keywords And these become very useful as reminders when you're talking to somebody. Okay, and it kind of prompts you in, what to ask and when to ask. You kind of put the cards one behind another, right? They're small pieces of card paper, arranged in the order in which you want to ask the questions. Very helpful during a conversation or discussion. So you need to do this after you study the topic and the questions that you want to ask while doing a questionnaire or talking to a user, or even when you're talking to an expert. Okay, so you write them as keywords or as short phrases. And it can be used in any of these. Okay, you can use cue cards while you're doing the contextual inquiry. You can do it while conversing or interviewing the user, and especially while talking to the experts. So let's have a look at the cue cards itself. Okay, so for example, this is the information. Let's say you're studying children and you've gone to speak to a child specialist. Okay, and you marked, you want information on the kind of environments children are comfortable in, what is their cognitive behavior, what is their physical, sensory behaviors, and what is their social behaviors. So you put it in different cards. Okay, and when you go there, these become useful to one another, so that you remember these, one after another. So, for example, the environment is written there, child's sensory world, child's behavior, his cognitive growth, and social bias in toys. Okay, so these are cue cards which are very useful, kept one below the other, and while you're talking to the expert, you can actually glance at them, so that you don't forget to ask them these questions, because these questions are very important for your topic. Okay, so it's a very simple, useful device, so that it helps you remember and not forget to ask these questions. So thank you again for listening. This was section T6, week 6. Let's summarize week 6. We did the design process, had a look at primary research part 2. We further tried to understand the user. We looked at the tools of how to do the questionnaire and how to do the cue cards, which becomes useful for talking to subject experts. We're going to apply it in the design project, both the questionnaires and the cue card. And then we'll have a look at the case study.